Hello everybody, it's good to see you again. Today I want to talk about vibrato. I know you're curious to do it and anxious, but oftentimes we just get the wrong motion that can sound kind of good, but the motion isn't right. And so it makes things harder later on if it's not done correctly. So last time I talked a bit about a beginning strategy for that. Let me start at the very beginning and try this again. I've been giving this some thought about how to explain via recording. But one of the first things when you do vibrato that you have to learn is that when I vibrato, I want you to look at this spot here. Remember the place we put the X on the forefinger? And we put it against the side, which is appropriate for beginners. But when I start to vibrato, I have to pull that aside just slightly. Look, here it is right against it. Here it is away. So that my hand can swing freely while doing the motion. So for me, what I have to think of is usually turning my hand in even more and coming out with my elbow, coming in with my elbow, I guess, toward the right, so that I feel that I'm getting away from that side. But that's one of the first things to learn to do, is just go from this to that, this to that. And if you notice, I'm holding right here just to give my arm and my instrument some support. So this, that. And it's only out a very little bit. I mean, and when I vibrato, I actually feel that skin running along the side of the instrument, but it's not a grip against it. So that's the first thing. Now, there are lots of different ways that people talk about vibrato. Most of them involve some slow motion things, and you'll find a lot of those on YouTube. But what I wanted to talk about was, if you remember last time I talked about using a bigger motion and starting with like shaking salt. So I've given some thought to this. Here is my salt shaker. And I'm going to put it in my hand upside down. We'll bring it in and just do salting from the opposite way. So I'm not turning my hand. The salt is down. So that if you're looking in a mirror, the back of your hand is what you're seeing, not the palm. Okay? So if I can do that, what I want to do is try to just come up a little bit and keep that same motion going until I'm in kind of a playing position. So that by the time I get up here, I'm shaking salt at me. And this means that your arm has to turn in, elbow has to be under, and then I can get the right kind of motion going. So start down here, gently bring it up, bring the elbow under. There you go. That's basically vibrato. All right, now I want to point out one thing to you, and let me put my instrument down. As I'm doing this motion, can you see how my arm does an opposite motion? So if I'm going down, the back of my arm is going almost up. And if I'm coming down, if I'm going up with the salt shaker, this part of the arm is going down. So it's kind of like in our city parks, we often have what's called teeter-totters. One person sits on one side, one person sits on the other. And as they ride this thing, one side goes up, the other side is opposite. And you cannot, it goes by so fast, you can't really say that you see it, but you can feel the difference. There's a balanced motion in the hand. What this is not is something like this. So it's a balanced motion in the arm. And I would do a lot of shaking with or without a salt shaker. Just a lot of shaking. Now, I want you to notice my arm. If you will look in a mirror as you bring yourself up to this position without your instrument, notice that I'm really bringing my arm under. So look. So I'm shaking, 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 getting almost to position, and now I'm there. This side of my hand, it's not straight on, but this side right here is facing me. And it's so that later on, I don't know if you've used fourth finger yet, but when you use fourth finger, your hand has to turn in to be able to use that. All right, very good. Let's start with step 2. It's often the same kind of thing, but let me show you. I'm going to get that shaking motion going, but instead of my hand, no, I'm right. Get that shaking motion going, except think sideways, not up and down. Sideways. Like you've got the shaker, here's the hole, like you got the shaker going this way. Okay, so this way and this way, both of these ways will help you. And in my arm, I literally can see that teeter-totter. I don't know if you can see it or not. So people, I'm going to say, try it this way just for the free shaking, but also try it this way so that the salt is going to the side when you're shaking, kind of toward you, toward you, toward you. There we go. All right. So the next step is to begin to get comfortable with the instrument. And what I don't want you to do yet is put the finger down. I want us to just literally hang by the thumb. See, if I let the muscle go on this, my hand's going to fall because I'm literally letting the whole weight of my arm work so that I can feel this motion. And look. You see, my upper arm is involved. It's not passive. But I wouldn't think it too hard, just whatever makes this motion. Now let me say this. When you do this, I want you to look how far away it is from my body. It's not close. It's too hard to do. You need to reach out a little bit so that the upper arm is right at the side. And then bring this up. All right. So there we have that. And I'm not touching here. I'm literally hanging. There's a space there. Can you see? I'm not touching. This is touching. I'm not touching. I'm letting it fall free. Now people, if you get good at this and you get a consistent back and forth motion, not something that's kind of stop and start, this is where you can begin to start bringing it around. So the next place I want you to do it, and hang on to the instrument, is right here. Put it high on your chest and see if you can do it there. And last, if you can do it there, and I wouldn't skip steps, go stepwise, I'd bring it to my shoulder and see if I can do the same thing. And you see, I'm not touching the side. Let me turn around this way so you can see the motion. Let me turn this way so you can see the motion. Last, let me turn this way so you can see how far my arm is under the instrument. Okay, I hope that begins to make sense. Now, we want to keep that same looseness. Let me give you one hint though. The tendency can be to let your wrist go floppy. Kind of think about keeping your wrist not tight, but giving a little resistance so it doesn't do this as you try this exercise. All right, great. Now, let's go to step 2. If you can do all 3 of those things, then go to step 2. And people, it's this. I'm going to do this same motion. No fingers. There's a space. But I'm going to learn to bring my hand around and I'm going to polish the strings up and down the string. Not in one place. I'm not putting any pressure on my finger, just enough to keep it on the string and let it slide. From there, again, go mid-chest. See if you can do the same thing. Going up to the full thing. See if you can do the same thing. And here you can really see, I'm not putting my finger down, I'm letting it really travel. All right. Now, I would do each of those steps alone until I felt it come correct. And I'm sorry, I'm just not there to help you, to physically help you feel it. So you'll have to judge whether it feels like a natural motion or if it's something that's very tight. In string playing, we avoid tightness at all costs. So it's just enough to get the motion going and it should be balanced and easy. Okay, so if you can do that, then it's time to start singing about the real deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand at the side, hang for my thumb. I'm going to bend my finger over, and usually second finger works best. So I would try second, because that's kind of the balance of your hand. And then you may put this finger down and see if you can get that same motion. So what I'm doing now, let me see if I can get at an angle where you can see it. I'm doing a real vibrato. See, I'm not against the side, I'm slightly away. Look at my, where I put the X on my forefinger. This is against the fingerboard. This is slightly away from it. And the whole thing, all that motion in the back of your hand is just to get this knuckle only to move back and forth. So it varies the pitch. That's the same with every finger. You're just trying to get this knuckle, this bass knuckle. Sorry, that's not bass knuckle. Let's call this the first joint. You're just trying to get that finger to move from the first joint. So if I bring the instrument back up, I want you to look at what I do. I don't have to have it that high, but I am going to bring my hand away from the side. You can start with polishing and then get to the point where you leave the finger in place. And that's a vibrato motion. To proceed, go on back here, do your shake, your polishing, then finger down. and that's a vibrato motion. If I get good there, I'm going to bring it into playing position. I'm going to just review myself. I'm going to shake. I'm going to polish. And last, I'm going to keep my finger down firmly. Let me do this in several positions for you. And notice I'm still holding this for support. Okay, I'm going to try it from this angle so you can see all the motions. And let me see how close I can get. Okay, so down here, I'm just doing my swing or shaking motion. Now I'm going to bring my finger over and polish the string. And now I'm going to put that finger down firmly, and here's the vibrato motion. Okay, let me bring it up here. High on myself. Shake, polish, leave the finger in place. Again, if this is against the side, you'll get stuck. You'll shake the instrument rather than getting the finger to move. And last, you're going to do it up here. So here's my shake. And the instrument may move a little bit. You'll get used to that over time. But polish. See, and I'm... Now put your finger down. And you should have it. Let me tell you one thing to watch for. When we vibrato, we kind of almost need in our playing to have a good angle down with that first joint. From this joint down, you want this part to hit the string so that this second joint may be high. See? But you want to hit the finger on this side, and it's a little bit, if I'm looking at my palm right now, it's a little bit to your left where the string's going to fall. Let me see if I can show you that. So I don't know if you can see my finger well enough, but not straight in the middle, but see that little red line there? And see how it's a little bit on the left side when I turn my hand around? That's what you want. If your fingers are too flat, it makes for a weird, it's just hard to get the motion to go. I can do it because I've got practice with it, but you look at the difference in the finger height. This is really flat. This is more the proper height. Flat fingers, yuck. More height. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that you try all of these motions without using the bow until it begins to feel free in your hand. I'm also going to suggest that you do each step and really take the time with each step. Don't rush it, because what happens is I think you'll develop the wrong motion. So make sure that you're comfortable at each step of the way as you go through this, and you're going to have a better chance of success. Now, again, I mentioned holding the instrument out and bringing your arm to it, but there's one more thing I want to mention. When you vibrato down here, you also need to bring the arm slightly out from the body. So not against the body, but bring the arm slightly out. Okay? People, those are my remarks on vibrato. If I find other things I want you to try, I'll think of that. But I've had great success with students getting them to do this by the shaking stuff. So several things to watch out for again. When I'm in this position, my fingers are high on the string. See, I've got a high finger, not a flat. My arm here is away from my body, and I'm not touching the side where my X went when we first began to learn. All of this is true as I bring it up. My arm comes under. I'm on one finger only. Second finger is my best. And I've got this away from the edge of the instrument slightly. And there's vibrato. Now, I would love to see it done. If you want to try it, see if we can set up some time to meet, and I'll try to talk you through it. I wish I were there. I would give anything to help you with it, because sometimes I can get you to feel it correctly by manipulating your arm, but I'm going to have to do it all by description right now. So again, if you feel like you're working extremely hard, watch that you're not doing something weird here, that it should be a balanced motion in your arm, and it should swing freely. All right. Over time, I'll be sending more videos. You all stay in touch, and I hope you're all well and staying safe with the COVID that's going on, and safe with any situation you're in. Bless you all, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.